The gas station appeared through the windshield like a memory half-forgotten, rusted pumps beneath a flickering sign that read Earl's. Ellie Brennan pulled in beside pump 3 and killed the engine. 9 years. She'd been gone 9 years, and Coalridge, West Virginia, looked exactly as she'd left it. The dashboard clock read 6:47 p.m. She sat for a moment, breathing in mountain air mixed with gasoline and coal dust. Some smells never leave a place. She opened the door. That's when she heard the voice. "I don't care what the offer is." A man's voice strained from the other side of the pump island. "I'm not selling. Not to that company, not to any company." Ellie glanced over. A dark blue truck at pump 1. A man stood beside it, phone pressed to his ear, running his hand through dark hair in exhaustion. "Because it's not about the money," he continued. "It's about what's right, about what he would have wanted." She looked away. Not her business. He made mistakes, I know that. But he wasn't what they said he was. Something in his tone made her look again. Dark eyes, weary expression, maybe early 30s. The kind of tired that lives in the bones. He seemed to sense her watching, turned. Their eyes met. Ellie's breath caught. He nodded once, she nodded back. The pump clicked off. She replaced the nozzle and walked toward the store. Behind her, his truck started and drove away. Inside, a woman behind the counter looked up. "You're a Brennan." Ellie hesitated. "Yes. You look just like your mama." "Margaret Wright, heard she's not doing well." "ALS, is it?" "Small towns, where your medical history was common knowledge." "Yes. That's why I'm back." The woman rang up the gas. "You just missed one of them Ashfords. The son." "Isaac." Ellie's hand froze. Ashford. The name landed like a stone. "You talking to him out there?" "No, I mean he was on the phone." "Good. Best to keep it that way. After what that family did to this town, to your family?" She shook her head. "Some things don't deserve forgiving." Outside, Ellie sat in her car, hands on the wheel. Isaac Ashford. She'd been 9 when the mine collapsed, 17 when Michael died, 18 when she left and swore she'd never come back. Her phone buzzed. "Sarah Chen, you close, your mom's asking for you." Ellie started the engine. The Brennan house sat at the end of Maple Street, weathered to the color of old bone. A wheelchair ramp, new aluminum, led to the front door. Sarah appeared on the porch, descended, and walked to Ellie's car. "You going to sit out here all night?" Sarah asked gently. They'd been best friends since 3rd grade. "How is she?" "Tired but lucid. Waiting for you." Ellie opened the door. Sarah pulled her into a hug. "I missed you," Sarah said. "I missed you too." Inside, the house smelled like jasmine tea and illness. The dining room had been converted hospital bed, medical equipment, a motorized wheelchair by the window. Margaret Brennan was small, barely 5'2", but the disease had diminished her further. Her silver hair was in a braid. She wore a soft cardigan over a nightgown. "Margaret," Sarah said softly. "Ellie's here." The wheelchair rotated. Margaret's face broke into a lopsided smile. "Ellie." Her voice was weak, slurred. Ellie crossed the room and knelt, taking her mother's cold hand. "Hi, Mom." Margaret's other hand lifted, trembling, and touched Ellie's cheek. On the tablet mounted to her wheelchair, words appeared via eye tracking. "You came." "Of course I came." Margaret's eyes filled. She typed, "Don't apologize." "You needed to leave." "I understood." Sarah excused herself. The room fell quiet except for medical equipment. "There are things I need to tell you, things I've written. Art knows where the file is. But first, tell me about your life." So Ellie talked. About Portland, her photography, the gallery show. About the life she'd built far away. When she finished, Margaret typed, "You're still carrying it, Michael. I don't know how to put it down." "You can't, not alone. That's why I asked you to come home. There are truths here you need to know." "Mom, what?" "Tomorrow, read what I've written, but promise me something. Anything. Promise you'll stay, even when it's hard, even when you want to run." Ellie looked at her mother and nodded. "I promise." Margaret's expression relaxed. "Good. Now go eat." Sarah made food and rest. Ellie kissed her forehead. "I love you, Mom." Margaret mouthed, "I love you too." Sarah had made soup and cornbread. Over dinner, she filled Ellie in on medication schedules, therapy, appointments, the practicalities. Thomas usually came home around 10. Daniel's shift ended at midnight. "You don't have to see them tonight if you're not ready," Sarah said. "I'm not sure I'll ever be ready." Tell me about you, Ellie said. Your emails never talk about you. Sarah's expression shifted. There's someone, or there was almost someone. It's complicated. Complicated how? The kind where he doesn't see me that way, where I'm just background. Sarah set down her mug. He's stuck in the past, can't see what's in front of him. Before Ellie could ask, more exhaustion caught up with her. I need to sleep. Your room's ready. They hugged. Ellie climbed the stairs to her childhood bedroom exactly as she'd left it. She lay on the bed fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. Sarah's new number. Forgot to give you this. Text if you need anything. Then another text. Your mom mentioned a file she wanted you to read. It's on her tablet. Password is Robert and Margaret 1985. She said you'd understand. Ellie stared at the message. Robert. Robert Ashford. Who's Robert? Your mom's file will explain. But Ellie, maybe don't read it alone. It's heavy. Around 2 a.m. Ellie gave up on sleep. She made tea and stood at the kitchen window. She opened her phone browser. Robert Ashford, Coalridge mine collapse. Headlines screamed about negligence, 7 men dead. Photos of Robert being escorted by lawyers, his face haggard. She scrolled. More articles. Then mine safety report raises questions about blame distribution. 2011. She clicked. The article questioned the narrative. Mentioned pressure from local business owners, including Thomas Brennan, to keep the mine operational despite safety concerns. Thomas Brennan Mine Board. Her father had been on the board of directors. The Brennans had owned land the mine leased. She felt sick. She walked to her mother's room. The door was ajar. Inside, Margaret slept breathing, assisted by a BiPAP machine. The tablet was mounted beside the bed. Ellie shouldn't. It was the middle of the night. But she couldn't stop herself. And Margaret 985, the screen unlocked. A single document, The Truth They Never Told, by Margaret Brennan. Ellie's hand hovered. Then she opened it. If you're reading this, it means I can no longer speak the words I should have said decades ago. ALS is stealing my voice, but it cannot steal the truth. What follows is the story of Coalridge, of 2 families, and of a love that was buried under lies. Ellie, if you're reading this first, and I hope you are, please understand. Everything you were told about the Ashfords, about the mine collapse, about Michael, none of it is as simple as your father made it seem. I loved Robert Ashford. I loved him first, and in some ways, I loved him last. This is my confession. This is the truth. 1985, I was 22 when I met Robert Ashford. It was summer. He just returned with his engineering degree. Thomas Brennan was my boyfriend. Everyone assumed we'd marry, but I didn't love Thomas. Then I met Robert at a town dance. The manuscript detailed their summer romance. Stolen moments. Late-night conversations about dreams too big for Coalridge. They planned to leave together in August, but Thomas found out. He threatened to destroy Robert's father's business, said if I left, he'd make sure the mine failed, that Robert's family would lose everything. I was 22, I was scared, so I stayed. I married Thomas in 1986. Robert didn't come to the wedding. Ellie stopped reading, tears blurring her vision, her mother trapped by fear. She scrolled further. 1987. You were born. I loved you instantly. For a while, that was enough. Robert married someone else in 89. Carolyn. She died in 1993, leaving him with a 3-year-old son. Isaac, the man from the gas station. 2005. Robert and I reconnected on town committees. The mine was struggling. Robert argued for closure or major renovation. Thomas and the board argued for maintaining operations. 2008. Robert found fractures in the eastern shaft. He recommended immediate closure. The board overruled him. 2 months later, 7 men died. The town blamed Robert. Thomas orchestrated it, used his influence to paint Robert as negligent. And I said nothing. I could have testified, could have told the truth about the board meetings, the pressure. But I stayed silent. That's my sin. Michael died. He'd called Isaac Ashford that night. They were friends. Michael wanted to run away just like I'd wanted 24 years before. Isaac agreed to help. Thomas found out. He followed them. Michael panicked, lost control on Mountain Pass Road. Thomas told me it was an accident, that Michael had been racing, but I knew, and still I said nothing. Ellie's hands were over her mouth, stifling a sob. Michael, her brother, He died fleeing their father. 2015. Robert died. Heart attack. Isaac came back for the funeral. I wanted to go to tell him I was sorry. Thomas forbade it. Said if I went, he'd destroy what little respect I had left. So I stayed home while the man I loved was buried. 2016, I was diagnosed with ALS. At first I was terrified, but then I realized this disease is my freedom. Thomas can't control someone who won't live long enough to care about consequences. So I started writing. Because Isaac Ashford deserves to know his father was a good man. Because you, Ellie, deserve to know the truth about Michael. Because I will not die with these lies still poisoning my family. The manuscript continued with more details. Ellie read until dawn until she knew it by heart. When she finally finished, she sat beside her mother's bed and cried for Margaret, for Robert, for Michael, for Isaac Ashford, who'd believed his father was a monster. Margaret stirred. Her eyes open, saw Ellie with the tablet. Ellie moved to the bedside. "I'm sorry, Mom, I'm so sorry." Margaret's face crumpled. She tried to speak but couldn't. She reached for the tablet. "Don't be sorry for me. Be sorry for what we did to that family. And Ellie, if you see Isaac Ashford, tell him. Tell him everything. His father deserves that." Ellie nodded. "I will." Morning came slowly. Sarah arrived at 7, found Ellie still in the chair. "You read it," Sarah said. "You knew She told me there was something important. I didn't know what it said." Sarah looked at Margaret. "But I can guess. Everything we thought we knew, I know. Small towns run on stories, and sometimes those stories are wrong." Footsteps upstairs. A voice. "Margaret, you awake?" Thomas Brennan was home. Ellie stood frozen. Margaret's hand caught her wrist. Their eyes met. "Stay. You promised." The door opened. Thomas stood there, 65, still tall and broad-shouldered. His eyes landed on Ellie. "So you finally came home." "Hi, Dad," Ellie said. The silence stretched. Sarah excused herself to the kitchen. Thomas stepped into the room. "You didn't call?" "I texted Sarah." "Sarah's not family." Margaret made a sound. "The tablet, don't start. Not today." He ignored her. "Your mother's sick. She needs stability. Not you stirring up old wounds." "No one had to fill my head with anything," Ellie said. "I can think for myself." Thomas's jaw tightened. "While you're under this roof, you follow the rules. No stirring up trouble. No digging into things that don't concern you." As if the truth didn't concern her. As if Michael's death didn't concern her. "I understand," she said. He looked at Margaret. "You need anything? I'm fine. Sarah took care of everything. I'm going to shower and sleep." Night shift was long. He left without another word. Ellie released a breath. Margaret typed, "I'm sorry. He's gotten worse. More controlling." "It's not your fault, Mom." "Yes, it is. I let him become this. I never stood up to him." Sarah pulled Ellie into the kitchen. "You okay?" "I read Mom's manuscript, all of it. Sarah, my father, let 7 men die and framed Robert Ashford for it." "I know. You know, your mom told me some of it." Sarah poured coffee. "The question is, what are you going to do?" "Mom wants me to tell Isaac. She wants him to know the truth about his father." "Are you going to... I don't know how to approach him. If you do tell him, be prepared for fallout. Your father won't take it well. Neither will the town." Ellie drank her coffee. "I saw him last night, Isaac, at the gas station, before I knew who he was." Sarah's expression shifted. "Be careful. Isaac Ashford has every reason to hate your family. You think I shouldn't tell him? I think you should consider consequences." Sarah rinsed her mug. "I need to get to work. Are you okay here?" "Yeah." After Sarah left, Ellie stood in the kitchen, listening to the house settle. She pulled out her phone. Isaac Ashford, Coalridge LinkedIn profile. Minimal senior environmental engineer. Mine reclamation and brownfield remediation. She shouldn't, but she stared at the message box. What would she say? She closed it. This wasn't something for messages. If she was going to do this, it had to be in person. Ellie managed 3 hours of fitful sleep. At noon, she checked on Margaret sleeping peacefully, then grabbed her camera bag and left. Coalridge in daylight. More empty storefronts than open ones. The hardware store. Betty's diner. The boarded-up movie theater. She walked toward the eastern edge of town where Mountain Pass Road began. She knew where she was going. Michael's Memorial. 2 miles up, a turnout with faded flowers, a wooden cross, a laminated photo nearly destroyed by weather. He'd been 19, still figuring out who he was. She raised her camera, not of the memorial that felt invasive, but the road, the curve where it disappeared, the way light filtered through trees. Behind her, a vehicle slowed. The dark blue truck. Isaac Ashford. He recognized her, pulled into the turnout, sat for a moment before stepping out. They stood 15 feet apart, the memorial between them. "You're Ellie Brennan," he said, not a question. "Yes." "Small town, people talk." He shoved his hands in his pockets. "You're Isaac Ashford." "Yeah." He nodded toward the memorial. "Your brother?" "Yes." "I'm sorry." The absurdity, Isaac offering condolences when the town blamed an Ashford. "Did you," she asked quietly, "did you hear what really happened?" His expression shifted, guarded. "What do you mean this was it, the moment?" Margaret's voice tell him. "I mean the story everyone tells isn't the whole truth." Isaac went still. "What do you know?" "My mother wrote it down. Everything. Not just that night, but before. The mine collapse. The real reason your father was blamed, all of it." He took a step back. "Your mother knows." "She knows a lot of things, things that change everything." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she asked me to. Because your father deserves to have the truth known. Because I'm tired of living with lies." Isaac stared at her. "Then tell me." "Here." "Why not here? This is where it ended, isn't it?" His voice was bitter but hungry. "So tell me, what really happened?" Ellie looked at him. This man condemned by association. And she began. She told him about Margaret and Robert, about young Love Thomas's threats, coerced marriage. Isaac listened without moving. She told him about the mine, Robert's warnings, the board overruling him, about 7 men dying because greed was stronger than caution. "My father came to your mother 2 months before the collapse," Isaac said quietly. "I remember him saying, 'They're going to let people die and there's nothing I can do.' He tried to stop it, but the board, my father, blocked him at every turn. And when it happened," Isaac's hands clenched, "my father took the fall, lost everything. We moved 3 times because people refused to serve us. I got into fights at school because kids said my father was a murderer." His eyes were bright. "I believed them. I believed my own father was responsible." "Isaac, did he ever defend himself to you?" "He and my mother stopped speaking after the collapse." Isaac turned away, breathing hard. "There's more," Ellie said. "About Michael." He turned back. "What?" "Michael called you that night. You were helping him leave." "How do you—" "My mother wrote it. Michael was your friend. He wanted to escape. You agreed to drive him out." Isaac nodded slowly. "He called around 10. Sounded desperate. I told him to meet me at the lumber yard. My father found out. He followed you." Isaac's face paled. "The truck. There was a truck chasing us. Michael was on his motorcycle behind my car. He panicked. The road," he gestured at the curve. "The road doesn't forgive mistakes." "I know." "What, your father did that? He's the reason Michael—" "Yes." They stood in silence. Wind through trees. A distant crow. "I've spent 9 years blaming myself," Doggett said, "thinking if I'd said no, Michael would be alive. It wasn't your fault." "No, it was your father's." He laughed bitterly. "And the town thinks he's the victim." "My mother wants you to know the truth," Ellie said. "She's been writing her confession. Everything she should have said 14 years ago. She has ALS. She's losing her ability to speak. It's taken her months." "Why now, Oz?" "Because she's dying, because she loved your father, because she knows what those lies did to you." Isaac wiped his face. "Can I read it, the full manuscript?" "I'll have to ask her, but I think she'd want you to. And your father, he's not going to react well." Isaac pulled out his phone. "Can I get your number?" She gave it. He sent a text. "This is Isaac. I'm staying at my father's old property. If you need somewhere your father can't find you." He shrugged. "The offer's there." "Thank you." A truck rumbled past, a local staring. By tonight, the whole town would know. "I should go," Ellie said. "My brother's supposed to be home soon." "Right." Isaac walked to his truck, paused. Ellie, thank you for telling me. Even if it hurts, it's better than not knowing. I think so too. He drove away. Ellie stood alone at the memorial, then got in her car. The lies were starting to unravel. Daniel Brennan was on the porch when Ellie arrived. 22 now broader through the shoulders, face more angular. He didn't stand, just watched her walk up. Hey, Danny, she said. Don't call me that. I'm not 10 anymore. Right, sorry, Daniel. You've got some nerve. 4 years, Ellie, no visits. You missed my graduation, my 21st birthday. Each word hit like a stone. You're right, I should have come back sooner. I'm sorry. Daniel blinked, not expecting agreement. That's it. What do you want me to simmer? We had reasons, but they don't matter now. You're right, I wasn't here and I'm sorry. He stood. Why did you stay away? Because I couldn't breathe here. Because Dad made every visit a reminder of how I'd failed Michael. Because it was easier to run. Michael's death wasn't your fault. Everyone keeps saying that. But what do you mean, failed Michael? He frowned. What aren't you telling me? Ellie realized her mistake. Can we go inside? There's something you need to know. He held her gaze, then nodded. In the kitchen, Daniel pulled 2 beers. They sat at the table. Talk, he said. Ellie told him, about Margaret's manuscript, about Robert and the mine collapse, about Michael's death, the real story. Daniel listened, his beer forgotten. When she mentioned Michael trying to leave the bottle shattered in his hand, glass, blood, he didn't notice immediately. Daniel, your hand? He stared at her. Dad killed him. Dad chased Michael and then killed him. It's more complicated. No, it's not. He walked to the sink. Our father killed our brother. Ellie grabbed a towel, rinsed his cuts, wrapped his palm. How long have you known? He asked. Since last night. And you waited? I wasn't sure how to tell you, but you deserve to know. Daniel examined the bandage. Does Dad know you read it? I don't think so. He's going to lose his mind. I know. What else? His eyes narrowed. What did you do, Ellie? She couldn't lie. I saw Isaac Ashford today at Michael's memorial, and I told him everything. The kitchen went quiet. You what? Mom wanted him to know about his father. So you told him, gave him everything to destroy our family. It's not about destroying. That's exactly what it's about. If Isaac reopens lawsuits, we could lose everything. Mom needs care, Ellie. Care costs money. Isaac wouldn't. You don't know him. You met him twice. Mom wanted me to tell him. Mom is dying. She's making deathbed confessions. But we have to live with what comes after. He grabbed his keys. I need to think. I'm going out. Where? But he was gone. Ellie stood in the kitchen surrounded by broken glass and blood. She'd thought truth would help. Instead, she'd started a war. Ellie cleaned up the broken glass in silence. Her hands moved automatically, sweeping, wiping, rinsing blood from the towel. The mechanical task gave her something to focus on besides the crushing weight of what she'd set in motion. Daniel was right. She'd acted without thinking about consequences. Had told Isaac the truth because it felt right, because her mother had asked her to, but she hadn't considered what came after. She'd been selfish again. When the kitchen was clean, she went to check on Margaret. Her mother was awake, eyes focused. The tablet was positioned, waiting. I heard shouting. What happened? Daniel knows? About the manuscript. About Michael. Ellie sat beside the bed. He's angry. At you, at Dad, at the situation. Maybe at me too for telling Isaac before talking to him first. Margaret's expression shifted, concern mixed with guilt. You told Isaac I saw him at Michael's memorial. And I couldn't lie to him, Mom. Not when he spent his whole life believing his father was a monster. I'm glad you told him. He deserved to know. Daniel thinks I've started a war, that Isaac could use your testimony to reopen lawsuits, that we could lose everything. We already lost everything that matters. We lost Michael. We lost Robert. We lost the truth. What else is there? The house, your care, Daniel's future. Material things, they can be replaced. Not when you need 24-hour medical care. Margaret was quiet, then typed, when I'm gone, there will be money, life insurance. It will be enough. Ellie stared. You planned this. Not destroy, rebuild, on honesty instead of lies. Margaret's gaze intensified. Ellie, I'm dying. In a few months, I won't be able to move at all. I'll be completely locked in. Before that happens, I need to know the truth is out there. What if telling the truth makes everything worse? Then at least it will be an honest worse. Margaret's hand found Ellie's. I know I'm asking too much, but I'm running out of time. They sat together, mother and daughter, holding on, while afternoon light slanted through the windows. Sarah arrived at 5 for the evening routine. She took one look at Ellie and said, "What happened?" Daniel knows about everything, and he's not wrong to be angry. Sarah glanced toward Margaret's room, then pulled Ellie into the kitchen. Start from the beginning. Ellie told her about Isaac at the memorial, about revealing the truth about Daniel's reaction. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. You told Isaac Ashford. Yes. The Isaac that Daniel has blamed himself for Michael's death because he thinks if he hadn't told your father where Michael was going, Michael would still be alive. Ellie's stomach dropped. What? Daniel has carried that guilt since he was 13. He told your father that Michael was meeting in Ashford and your father chased them and Michael died. In Daniel's mind, he killed his own brother. But he was just a kid. That doesn't make the guilt less real. Sarah leaned against the counter. And now you've told Isaac, which means Daniel will have to face him knowing Isaac knows Daniel's role. I didn't think. No, you didn't. Sarah's voice wasn't cruel, just tired. Ellie, you make big decisions in isolation and then are surprised when other people are affected. The words stung because they were true. How do I fix this? Talk to Daniel. Listen instead of just acting. Where would he go? The old quarry, about 3 miles north. He goes there to think. Thank you. Sarah touched her arm. Be careful. Daniel's anger isn't just about Michael. It's about you leaving, about being the responsible one while you lived your life. That's a lot of weight. The old quarry was a gash in the landscape, a deep pit filled with dark water. Daniel's truck was parked in the gravel lot. Music played from near the edge, something acoustic and melancholy. Daniel sat on a flat rock, beer in hand, staring at the water. He didn't turn when she approached, but his shoulders tensed. Sarah told you where I was, he said. She cares about you. Everyone cares. No one understands. Ellie stopped a few feet away. Can I sit? Free country. She sat. They stared at the black water in silence. Michael used to jump off that cliff, Daniel said, pointing. Right there, said it made him feel alive. I remember. I was always too scared. That's the difference between us and Michael. He wasn't afraid of anything, except being trapped. The music played something about coming home and finding it changed. I'm sorry, Ellie said, for not thinking about you, for not talking to you first. Why did you do it? Because Mom asked me to, because it was the right thing, because I saw Isaac defending his father and couldn't let him keep believing a lie. You felt sorry for him, right? Maybe, but also I saw someone carrying the same weight I've been carrying, and I thought if we both knew the truth, maybe we could put it down. Daniel took a drink. This isn't a movie. This is real life. And in real life, telling the truth doesn't make everything better. I know that now. He looked at her. Sarah loves me. Did you know that? The change of subject threw her. What? She's been in love with me for years, and I know it, but I can't let anyone close. Because everyone I love either leaves or dies. You left. Michael died. Mom is dying. So I just, hold on, try to keep everything from falling apart. Daniel. But his voice had lost some edge. I've lived in this house, watching Mom deteriorate, watching Dad control everything, knowing something was wrong, but never having courage to confront it. You came back and immediately started burning it down. Is that a compliment or criticism? Both. He smiled grimly. What happens now? I don't know. Isaac might want to read Mom's manuscript if he goes public. The lawsuits are settled. Dad paid a lot to make it go away. I don't think Isaac can reopen the case. He paused. But people will know the truth, and we'll have to live with that. Mom wants us to leave after she's gone. Sell the house, take the money, start over. Leave Coalridge. He looked genuinely shocked. This is all I know. Then you'll learn. We both will. They sat as the sun set. Finally, Daniel stood. We should head back. Mom will worry. They walked to their trucks together. As they reached the parking lot, Daniel said, Isaac Ashford. What's he like? Tired, carrying a lot, trying to do right even when it's hard. She paused. Not that different from you. Great, so we're both idiots trying to fix things we didn't break. Probably, I didn't. Daniel almost smiled. Mom's going to want to know we talked. Yeah. Then I guess we should go tell her. Thomas's truck was in the driveway when they arrived. Ellie's stomach clenched. You want me to go in first? Daniel asked. No, together, remember? Inside, Thomas was in the kitchen making dinner, chopping vegetables with precision, needing something to do with his hands. He looked up. Where have you been? Out, Daniel said. Talking. About family stuff. Thomas set down the knife. Sarah said you two had a fight, that you broke a bottle. Accident, I squeezed too hard. Thomas didn't believe it. He looked at Ellie. You tell your brother about the manuscript. The trap, Ellie felt it. I told him the truth, she said, about the mine, about Michael, about all of it. Thomas went very still. Is that so? Yes. And what exactly is all of it? You know what it is, Dad. There's no truth to hide. Only your mother's delusions brought on by illness. That's not, Daniel started, but Thomas cut him off. Stay out of this, Daniel. No, Daniel said, voice steady despite fear. Ellie told me what's in Mom's manuscript. And if even half is true, it's not true. None of it. Thomas turned back to the cutting board, chopping harder. Your mother is sick, confused. She has ALS, not dementia, Ellie said. Her mind is clear. Her mind is being destroyed by disease. She can't be trusted. She's writing with eye-tracking technology. Every word is deliberate. The knife came down hard enough to cut into the board. Thomas set it aside. Let me make something clear. I've spent 14 years protecting this family. Everything I've done has been for you. By lying, by letting an innocent man be destroyed. Robert Ashford was not innocent. He was mine supervisor. The collapse happened on his watch. He tried to close it. You stopped him. Thomas turned to face her. Who told you that? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I read Mom's manuscript, and I told Isaac Ashford the truth. Thomas's face went white, then flushed dark red. What did you just say? I saw Isaac today, at Michael's memorial, and I told him everything about his father, about the mine, about what really happened. For a moment, Ellie thought her father might hit her. His whole body was rigid with fury, but he just said very quietly, Get out. Dad, get out of my house, now. This is Mom's house, too. And when she's coherent enough to disagree with me, she can. Until then, get out. You can't just, I can do whatever I want. This is my house, my family. You just destroyed everything I've spent decades protecting. Do you understand? The lawsuits are settled, but if Isaac reopens them based on your mother's fantasy, we'll lose everything. Maybe we should. Thomas's face contorted. You ungrateful? Thomas, Margaret's voice weak but caring. Thomas, stop. He ignored her. You have 1 hour to pack and leave. No, excuse me. No, I'm not leaving. Mom asked me to come home and I'm staying. If you don't like it, you can leave. They stood locked in battle. Then Daniel spoke. If someone leaves, it's you, Dad. Thomas's face went white. What? You heard me. Ellie stays. If you can't handle that, you go. This is my house. It's Mom's house too, and she wants Ellie here. Daniel's voice shook, but he held firm. So if someone has to go, it's you. Something shifted in Thomas's expression. Recognition or defeat. Fine, I'll stay at the VF. He grabbed his keys. But when this falls apart, when you lose everything, don't come crying to me. They listened to him pack drive away. Daniel leaned against the counter. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did. Someone had to choose Mom over Dad. Margaret was awake when they entered her room, Sarah beside her adjusting equipment. He's gone, Daniel said quietly. I heard. Margaret's typing was slow. I'm sorry. He's gotten worse since the diagnosis. It's not your fault, Mom, Ellie said. Yes, it is. I let him become this. I never stood up to him. Not when it mattered. Sarah spoke gently. You stood up to him now. That took courage. Margaret's eyes moved to the screen. I'm dying. I have nothing left to lose. That's not courage. That's just finally being honest. She looked at Ellie and Daniel. I need to tell you something about what comes next. I've spoken to my lawyer. The house is in my name only. When I die, it goes to both of you, along with life insurance. It's enough to cover my care and leave you something to start over with. Start over where? Daniel asked. Anywhere but here. Once the truth comes out, this town will turn on you. You'll need to leave. We can't just leave, Daniel protested. This is our home. This is a town built on lies and dying industries. There's no future here, Machine. Margaret's fingers moved faster. Sell the house, take the money, go somewhere you can be people instead of Brennans. What about Dad? Ellie asked. Thomas will figure out his own life. That's not your responsibility anymore. Margaret looked at Sarah. You too, if you want. Sarah stepped forward. Me. You've been in love with Daniel for 4 years. Don't look surprised. I'm dying, not blind. You deserve better than waiting. Come with them. Start over where you can all breathe. Sarah's face went red. Daniel stared at Margaret in shock. Mom, don't deny it, and don't waste time being scared. Life is too short. She looked at Ellie. Isaac deserves to read the manuscript. Give him access. Let him decide what to do. Are you sure? Once he reads it, the truth is out. That's the point. Margaret's chest heaved with effort. I'm tired, but know this. The choices I made weren't wrong because I chose safety. They were wrong because I let fear make my choices. Don't make that mistake. We won't, Ellie promised. Good. Now go, and someone bring me decent food tomorrow. I'm tired of yogurt. They left her to rest. In the kitchen, Daniel and Ellie looked at each other. Did Mom just give us permission to abandon ship? Daniel asked. More like an escape plan. And basically told Sarah I'm an idiot. Were you ignoring her? Daniel rubbed his face. Maybe. I couldn't let anyone close. It felt too risky. And now I don't have an excuse. Sarah emerged from Margaret's room, her face flushed. She looked at Daniel. So, that was subtle. Sarah, not now. I need to process. She grabbed her bag. I'll be back tomorrow. We can talk then. Maybe. She left quickly. Daniel stared at the door. You're an idiot, Ellie said. I know. She's perfect for you. I know that too. So what are you going to do? I have no idea. Ellie's phone buzzed. Isaac. This is Isaac. I've been thinking about what you told me. Can we meet tomorrow? I'd like to talk more. She typed back, library 10 a.m. I'll be there. She showed Daniel the exchange. And so it begins, he said. That night, Ellie barely slept. Around 3 a.m., she gave up and went downstairs, made tea, stared at her mother's manuscript on her laptop. She copied it to a USB drive, then made backup copies. One for Isaac, one for herself, one for safety, evidence, testimony, truth. By dawn, she'd read it 3 more times, knew which parts would hurt Isaac most, knew which revelations would destroy her father's reputation forever. She was giving Isaac a weapon. Once he had it, there was no taking it back. Morning came. Sarah arrived at 7 earlier than usual. Is Daniel up? Haven't heard him. Right. Sarah moved toward Margaret's room. About last night. Was true. Yeah, it was true. 4 years I've loved him since I first saw him at the clinic looking lost and determined. She set down her bag. Are you really giving Isaac the manuscript today? Yes. You trust him not to destroy your family. I trust him to do what's right. Sarah nodded slowly. You like him. Is it that obvious? To me, yes. Sarah almost smiled. When everything else is chaos, at least you can control who you care about, or you think you can. Daniel came downstairs at 8. I called in sick, staying home to help with Mom. What about Sarah? I'll talk to her, if she'll let me. At 9:30, they drove to the library. The Coalridge Public Library, small brick smelling like old paper and furniture polish. Mrs. Patterson looked up. Ellie Brennan, heard you were back. Yes, ma'am. Study room 2 is available. Door locks, if you need privacy. They found the room. Ellie set her bag on the table, pulled out the USB drive. At exactly 10, Isaac's truck pulled and Daniel stood. I'll get it. He opened the door. The 2 men looked at each other. Isaac Ashford and Daniel Brennan, sons of enemies. Isaac, Daniel said. I'm Daniel, Ellie's brother. I know, I remember you, at Michael's funeral. You were there, in the back, no one saw me. Isaac's gaze was steady. I'm sorry about your brother. He was my friend. Daniel's throat worked. He never told us. We kept it secret, but he talked about you, said you were smart, said you'd get out of here someday and do something important. He said that, yeah, he believed in you. Daniel blinked hard, nodded, stepped back. Come in. Isaac entered, saw Ellie. Something passed between them, recognition, acknowledgement. They sat, Isaac on one side, Ellie and Daniel on the other. Thank you for meeting me, Isaac said. You want to read the manuscript? Ellie said. Yes, if your mother agrees. She asked me to give it to you. Ellie set the USB drive on the table, 53 pages, everything from 1985 to now. Isaac stared at it, and after I read it, that's up to you. You can keep it private, make it public, use it to reopen lawsuits. My mother left that choice to you. Why? Because she wronged your father. This is the only way she knows to make it right. Isaac picked up the drive. If I make this public, your family will be destroyed. We know, Daniel said. We've talked. The truth matters more. Even if it costs you everything. Even then. Isaac looked at them both. You're serious? Yes. He slipped the drive into his pocket. I'll read it today, and I'll need time to think. Take all the time you need, Ellie said. Isaac stood, then looked at Daniel. There's something I need to say about the night Michael died. Daniel went still. I don't blame you. For telling your father where we were going, you were 13, trying to protect your family. You had no way of knowing. Isaac's voice was gentle. Michael wouldn't want you to carry that guilt. Neither do I. Daniel's face crumpled. Ellie reached across the table. Isaac waited. When Daniel lowered his hands, his face was wet but lighter. Thank you. I've been carrying that for 9 years. I know, I could see it. Isaac smiled sadly. Maybe we can both put it down now. They left together. In the parking lot, Isaac said to Ellie, I'll call you after I read it. Okay. He looked at Daniel. If you want to talk about Michael, about who he really was, I'd like that. Me too. Isaac drove away. Ellie and Daniel stood watching. That wasn't what I expected, Daniel said. What did you expect? Anger? Blame? He had every right. He's his father's son, Ellie said. Robert spent 14 years carrying blame without becoming bitter. You really like him? Yeah, I do. They drove home. Sarah was making lunch. Daniel stopped in the doorway watching her. Hey, he said. Hey, can we talk? She set down her knife. About what your mother said. About all of it. About me being an idiot. You're not an idiot. Sarah, please, can we just talk? She nodded. Outside. They went to the porch. Through the window, Ellie watched them talking. Daniel's hands moving, gesturing. Sarah listening, guarded. Then Daniel reached out and took her hand. Sarah didn't pull away. Ellie turned from the window, giving them privacy. Her phone buzzed. Isaac, I'm home. Starting to read. Just wanted you to know. She typed back, take your time. Call if you need anything. Thank you for trusting me with this. She sat with her mother. Margaret was awake. Did you give it to him? Yes, he's reading it now. Good. Margaret's expression was peaceful. How did he seem? Nervous? Grateful? Kind? He told Daniel he doesn't blame him for Michael. Isaac is like his father. Good heart, strong spine. Margaret paused. You care about him. I barely know him, Mom. You know enough. Trust your instincts. Your instincts told you to love Robert. That wasn't wrong. No, but my fear made me choose safety over love. That was wrong. Margaret looked at Ellie intently. Don't make that mistake. Life is too short. Mom, don't argue with a dying woman. Despite everything, Ellie laughed. When did you get so bossy? When I realized I'm running out of time to say what I think. It's liberating. Outside, Sarah's head was on Daniel's shoulder. They sat close, not talking, just being. They're talking, Ellie said. About time. Margaret typed slowly, now fatigued. Fear is a terrible reason to be alone. Her eyes closed. Ellie stayed watching her mother sleep. The call came at 7 p.m. Isaac's number. Ellie stepped outside. Hey. Hey. His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. I finished. And I don't even know where to start. He took a shaky breath. My father loved her until he died. It's all there in what she wrote. The things he said, the way he looked at her. He died believing she'd betrayed him. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's not your fault. Movement like pacing. But Ellie, the things your father did, if this gets out, Thomas Brennan will be destroyed. I know. And you're okay with that. I'm okay with the truth coming out. Isaac was quiet. I need time to think, but there's something else. What? I want to meet your mother. I want to thank her and tell her about my father. The man he was after she knew him. I think she deserves to know he was happy sometimes. Ellie's throat tightened. She'd like that. When can I come? Tomorrow around 10. Tomorrow at 10. Thank you, Ellie. Isaac. Yeah. I'm glad you know the truth. Me too, even though it hurts. She could hear the smile. At least it's real. They said goodbye. Ellie stood in the darkening yard listening to evening sounds. Tomorrow Isaac would meet her mother, would see the woman his father loved. And after that, she didn't know. But for the first time in 9 years, she felt like she was moving towards something instead of away. That evening, Daniel found Ellie on the porch. How'd it go with Sarah? She asked. Good. Scary, but good. We're going to try. Actually try. I'm happy for you. Isaac called. Yeah, he finished the manuscript, wants to meet Mom tomorrow. That's good. Daniel picked at a beer label. What do you think he'll do with the manuscript? I don't know, but whatever it is, we'll handle it. Together. Together. Inside through the window, Margaret slept. The medical equipment cast a soft glow. She's getting worse, Daniel said quietly. Yeah. How long? I don't know. Weeks, maybe. And after a day, we do what she asked. We live. They went inside, checked on Margaret, said goodnight. Ellie lay in bed thinking about tomorrow, about Isaac meeting her mother, about truth and consequences, and the possibility that something good could grow from wreckage. She fell asleep thinking about dark eyes and a voice that said, at least it's real. Maybe it was. Morning came with clouds and the promise of rain. Ellie woke at 6, helped Sarah with Margaret's routine, made breakfast no one had much appetite for. At 9, she found herself changing clothes for the 3rd time. Daniel appeared in the doorway. You're nervous. I'm not. You've changed 3 times. He leaned against the doorframe. It's just Isaac. He's about to meet my dying mother who was in love with his dead father. I want it to go well. Daniel studied her outfit, jeans and a green sweater. That one's good. Sarah said the green brings out your eyes. Since when do you notice things like that? Since Sarah. Turns out having someone who cares makes you notice details. They went downstairs. Margaret was in her wheelchair in the living room. Sarah had dressed her in actual clothes, done her hair. She looked more like herself despite the exhaustion. Sarah adjusted the tablet. She's ready. Excited even. Margaret's eyes were bright. She typed, "Stop fussing. I'm dying, not fragile." At exactly 10 a.m. there was a knock. Ellie opened the door. Isaac stood on the porch dressed more formally than before, dark jeans, button-down shirt. He held wildflowers that looked picked, not bought. Hi, he said. Hi. They looked at each other. Something passed between them, nervousness, acknowledgement that this moment mattered. Come in, Ellie said. He entered, saw Margaret, stopped. For a long moment they just looked at each other. Isaac Ashford and Margaret Brennan, the son and the lost love. Then Isaac crossed the room, knelt beside the wheelchair and offered the flowers. Mrs. Brennan, he said quietly, my father spoke about you. Not often, but when he did, it was with gentleness, with love. I didn't understand then, but I do now. Margaret's hand trembled toward the flowers. Sarah took them, placed them in a vase. Margaret's eyes moved to the tablet. Your father was the best man I ever knew. I loved him first and last, and I am sorry for staying silent, for choosing fear over courage, for everything. Isaac's face crumpled. He loved you too, until the end. He never said it, but I saw it. The way he'd go quiet looking at old photos, the way he'd drive past your street, the way he refused to speak ill of your family. Did he hate me for what I did? No, he understood. He told me once, 3 months before he died, that the hardest decisions are the ones where every option hurts someone we love. He said you'd had to make many of those decisions, and he hoped you'd found peace. Margaret's eyes filled, Tears tracked down her cheeks. Sarah moved forward with a tissue. Did he have a good life after everything he did? Isaac pulled up a chair. He remarried when I was 6, Patricia. Kind and patient. They had 10 good years before she passed. He worked as a consultant helping mines improve safety. He saved lives, Mrs. Brennan. What happened here broke him, but didn't destroy him. He turned pain into purpose. Tell me more, please. So Isaac did. He talked about Robert's love of fishing, of bluegrass music, of mystery novels, about teaching Isaac to fix cars, about fishing trips in the mountains, talking about everything and nothing. He never got bitter, Isaac said, even when we had to move because people recognized our name, even when I came home with black eyes. He'd say people lash out when they're scared. It's not about you. He was teaching me compassion when the world showed us none. He was always like that, even at 23. He saw the good in you, always. He understood why you made the choices you did. He forgave you long before you asked. How do you know 3 days before he died we were fishing? He said, if I'd had a daughter, I would have wanted her to be like Margaret's children. Brave enough to leave when staying hurt. Strong enough to build lives away from poison. He was talking about you, Mrs. Brennan. About Michael. He knew you'd raised good people, despite everything. Daniel, standing in the doorway, made a small sound. Sarah took his hand. He knew about Michael. He knew Michael wanted to leave. Michael had written him a letter a week before he died. Isaac pulled out his phone, scrolled. I still have it. Found it in his things. He showed Margaret the screen, worn paper soft edges. Margaret's eyes moved across the words. Can you read it to me? Isaac cleared his throat. Dear Mr. Ashford, you don't really know me, but I'm Margaret Brennan's son. Isaac is my friend. I'm writing because I don't know who else to ask. I feel like I'm drowning. My father wants me to be someone I'm not. My mother tries to protect me, but she's trapped too. Isaac says you're good at seeing through impossible situations, that you stayed yourself when the world tried to make you a monster. How did you do that? I'm thinking of leaving with Isaac, going to Pittsburgh. But I'm scared. Is running away ever the right thing? Or is it always cowardice? Sincerely, Michael Brennan. The room was silent. Margaret was crying openly, her body shaking with sobs she couldn't voice. Sarah moved to comfort her, but Margaret typed frantically. Did Robert write back? He did, but never sent it. The letter was in his desk, sealed. I found it after he died. I've never opened it. Isaac pulled an envelope from his pocket. I brought it. I thought maybe you should read what he wanted to say to your son. He placed it in Margaret's lap. Sarah carefully opened it and began to read. Dear Michael, thank you for your letter. It took courage to write it. First, running away is not always cowardice. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do to choose life over loyalty, truth over tradition, yourself over who others want you to be. Your mother knows this. She made a different choice 30 years ago, and I don't blame her. But that doesn't mean you have to make the same choice. You are not your parents' mistakes. You are your own person, and you deserve to live as yourself. As for how I stayed myself, I didn't entirely. The lawsuits changed me. But I remembered that their story about me was not my truth. What they said I was did not define what I actually am. You are not weak for wanting to leave. You are human. If you choose to go with Isaac, I'll help. If you choose to stay, I'll support that too. But know this, you are worth fighting for. Your happiness matters. Be brave, Michael. Not brave like staying in a burning building. Brave like choosing to leave it. Your friend, Robert Ashford. P.S. Your mother is the strongest person I've ever known. She survived 30 years with Thomas Brennan without losing her kindness. That took strength I can barely comprehend. You come from that strength. Sarah's voice broke on the last words. She folded the letter, placed it back in Margaret's lap. Margaret's chest heaved with silent sobs. Daniel crossed the room, knelt on her other side, taking her hand. Ellie joined them. Finally, Margaret opened her eyes. She typed slowly. He was going to save Michael. He wrote this to save him, and he died before he could send it. No, Isaac said firmly. Michael died 3 weeks after writing his letter. My father died 6 years later. He kept this letter all that time with his most important papers. He kept it because it was his last connection to someone who'd reached out for help. He treasured your son's trust. May I keep it? Both letters. They're yours. I brought them for you. Margaret looked at Isaac with profound gratitude. She reached out her trembling hand. Isaac took it. Thank you, Isaac said, for loving my father, for raising children who knew kindness, for being brave enough to tell the truth before you died. Thank you for not hating me, for forgiving what I can't forgive in myself. There's nothing to forgive. You did the best you could with impossible choices. They stayed for another hour. Isaac showed Margaret photos on his phone, Robert fishing the house in Denver, his grave surrounded by pine trees. I had him buried there instead of here, Isaac explained. Somewhere peaceful, somewhere Coalridge couldn't follow. It's beautiful. He would have loved it. Isaac told stories, funny ones, about Robert's terrible cooking, about learning guitar together, about his habit of talking to fish. He painted a picture of a man who'd built a good life from ruins. Margaret listened, drinking in every detail about the man she'd loved and lost. Eventually, fatigue overcame her. Sarah suggested she needed rest. Isaac stood. I should go. But Margaret typed, come back. Please, I don't have long and I want to hear more. I will, as often as you want. And Margaret looked at him, then at Ellie. Be good to my daughter. She's braver than she knows. Isaac's face flushed. He glanced at Ellie. Yes, ma'am. Good. Now leave so I can sleep. They filed out. In the living room, Daniel shook Isaac's hand. Thank you, Daniel said, for what you said about Michael, about the letter. It helps. He was a good person in a bad situation. Like all of us. Daniel looked at Ellie. I'm picking up Sarah later, taking her to dinner. Gives you guys time to talk. He left. Suddenly, Ellie and Isaac were alone. Do you want coffee? Ellie asked. Or we could go somewhere. Actually, Isaac pulled out his phone. There's a place I want to show you, if you're up for a drive. Where? It's a surprise, but I promise it's worth it. Something in his expression made her decision easy. Okay, let me grab my jacket. They took Isaac's truck, driving up into the mountains. The road wound higher, trees pressing close. After 20 minutes, he turned onto a narrow gravel road. They climbed another 10 minutes before parking in a clearing. We walk from here, he said. About half a mile. They got out. Isaac led the way down an overgrown trail. The air was cooler, crisp and clean. Birds called. Their footsteps crunched on leaves. My father and I used to come here, Isaac said. When things got bad, we'd drive up and just breathe. He called it our secret place. The trail opened onto an overlook, a rocky outcropping jutting from the mountainside. Below, the valley spread out. Coalridge was visible as a small cluster in the distance. Beyond that ridge, after ridge of mountains fading to blue, it was breathtaking. Oh, Ellie breathed. Yeah. Isaac sat on a flat rock. He'd bring coffee and we'd sit for hours, sometimes talking, sometimes just existing. Up here, none of it mattered, the lawsuits, the gossip, the hatred. Up here, we were just two people in a big world. Ellie sat beside him. From this height, Coalridge looked small, insignificant. After he died, Isaac continued, I came up one last time, scattered some of his ashes here. I wanted part of him to stay where he'd been happiest. Thank you for bringing me here. I wanted you to see it, to know that despite everything my father found peace, he wasn't defined by what was taken from him. They sat in silence, watching wind move through the valley. I've been thinking about the manuscript, Isaac said finally, about what to do with it. Ellie's stomach clenched. And I don't want revenge. That's not what my father would want. And it's not what your mother wants. She didn't write it to punish. She wrote it to free herself and to free me from lies. So what will you do? I want to make it public, not to media, not as spectacle, but I want to create a memorial, something that tells the true story, that clears my father's name and acknowledges the complexity. He looked at her. Would your mother be okay with that? I think she'd love that. It would still have consequences for your father, for your family's reputation. People would know Thomas Brennan pressured my father, chased Michael, lied for 14 years. Good, he should face that. And are you prepared for what comes with that? The gossip, the judgment, the way this town will turn on you? Ellie thought about it. about staying in Coalridge while everyone knew what her father had done. No, she said honestly, I'm not prepared. But Mom told Daniel and me to leave after she's gone, to sell the house and start over somewhere else. She said there's no future for us here. She's probably right. What about you? Will you stay? Isaac looked at the valley. Part of me wants to build something here, a memorial, a community center. But another part knows I can't build a future in a place built on my family's destruction. Some places are too poisoned for new growth. So we'd both leave. Yeah, probably. They were quiet. The sun was descending, casting long shadows. Can I ask you something? Isaac said. Of course. Why did you come back, really? You'd been gone 9 years. You could have just not come back. Ellie considered. I came back because she asked me to. Because her email said she didn't have much time and there were things she needed to tell me. And because I was tired of running. Tired of building a life that felt like hiding. I thought if I came home and faced everything, I could finally stop feeling like a ghost. Has it worked? I don't know yet. Ask me in a month. Isaac smiled. Fair enough. He stood, offered his hand. Come on, one more thing before the light goes. She took his hand. His grip was warm, strong. He pulled her up, but didn't let go. They stood close, hands clasped. Ellie, he said quietly, I know this is complicated. I know we've known each other less than a week. I know we're both carrying impossible weights. But I need you to know. He stopped, gathered courage. Meeting you has been the first good thing to come from all this pain. And I don't want to lose it. Her heart pounded. I don't want to lose it either. Good. He squeezed her hand. Then let's not. He led her down a smaller trail. It curved around the mountain and opened onto a flat area carpeted with moss. In the center stood a cairn stone stacked 3 feet high, carefully balanced. My father built this, Isaac said. Every time we came, he'd add a stone. Each one represented something he was grateful for. They fell during a storm years back. So I rebuilt it, and I've been adding to it ever since. He picked up a smooth stone and placed it on top, then handed one to Ellie. You too. Add something you're grateful for. Ellie held the stone, feeling its weight. She thought about everything since she'd returned. The pain, but also the truth. The reconnection with Daniel. Sarah finding happiness. Her mother's courage. And Isaac, this unexpected person who'd appeared like a gift. She placed her stone on the cairn. What did you choose? Isaac asked. Right now, she said. This moment. Being here with you. Oh. His expression softened. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Yeah, he said quietly. Me too. They stood as the sun set, 2 people building something new on ruins, choosing gratitude over bitterness, hope over despair. And for the first time since returning to Coalridge, Ellie felt something that wasn't grief or guilt or fear. She felt possibility. They drove back as darkness fell. The conversation flowed easier about small things, safe things. Isaac's work, Ellie's photography, dreams and plans. When they pulled up to the house, the porch light was on. Daniel's truck was gone, still out with Sarah. Do you want to come in? Ellie asked. I should probably get home. It's been an intense day. He turned off the engine. But Ellie, can I take you to dinner tomorrow? Somewhere not in Coalridge. Somewhere we can just be 2 people without all the history. I'd like that. Good, he smiled. I'll pick you up at 6. She started to get out, but he caught her hand. Wait. She turned back. He leaned across the console and kissed her. Gentle, tentative, giving her room to pull away. But she didn't. She leaned into it, her hand coming up to cup his face. When they broke apart, both were breathless. I've wanted to do that since the memorial, Isaac admitted. I've wanted you to since the memorial. He laughed, the first genuinely happy sound she'd heard from him. Then I guess we're on the same page. Yeah, I guess we are. She got out, walked to the porch, turned to wave. He waved back, then drove away. Ellie stood for a moment, fingers touching her lips, feeling the ghost of that kiss. Then she went inside. Margaret was awake, tablet glowing. When Ellie entered, her mother looked up with knowing eyes. How was your drive? Good, really good. He showed me where he and his father used to go. It was beautiful. And we talked about the manuscript, about what happens next, about... She blushed. About us. I like him. I know. You like him too. Yeah, I really do. Good. Robert would be happy, knowing his son found someone good. We're taking it slow. That's wise, but don't be too slow. Life is shorter than you think. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, Daniel's truck pulled up, voices his and Sarah's laughing. We're back, Daniel called. He stopped when he saw Ellie's face. Oh, that good, huh? Shut up, Ellie said, smiling. Sarah came in, took one look and grinned. She's glowing. I can see that, Daniel said, but that's okay. You're allowed to be happy. Margaret typed, especially in the middle of mess. Joy doesn't wait for convenient timing. They spent the evening together, the four of them. Talked about nothing important, just existed as family learning to be together. Around 10, Margaret's eyes closed. Sarah helped her to bed. Ellie and Daniel stood in the doorway. She's getting weaker, Daniel said quietly. I know. How long on? Days maybe, a week if we're lucky. He put his arm around her shoulders. At least she's happy. At least she got to hear about Robert. Got to see you and Isaac starting something. Yeah, at least there's that. Ellie went to her room, lay in bed. Her phone buzzed. Isaac, thank you for today, for trusting me, for being you. Sleep well. She typed back, thank you for showing me your secret place, for the kiss, for all of it. See you tomorrow. Can't wait. She set the phone down and closed her eyes. For once, sleep came easily. The next 2 days passed in strange peace. Isaac came each afternoon, spending hours with Margaret, telling stories, showing photos, reading letters Robert had written. Margaret drank in every detail, cried and laughed, and lived more fully than she had in months. Isaac took Ellie to dinner in a town 40 minutes away, a small Italian restaurant where no one knew their names. They talked for 3 hours. He told her about his failed engagement 2 years ago, about realizing he couldn't build a future chained to his past. She told him about relationships that never worked, about keeping people at arm's length because letting them close meant risking loss. We're both pretty damaged, Isaac said. Yeah, but maybe damaged people understand each other better. Maybe. The second evening they drove, with no destination, ended up at a diner near the state line. Isaac talked about environmental projects he wanted to pursue. Ellie talked about a photography project documenting small towns in transition. That's what this is, Isaac said. Coalridge, dying maybe, but still here. Would you document it? Maybe, but I'd want to show more than decay. I'd want to show the people who stayed, the beauty despite everything. Isaac reached across and took her hand. I'd like to see that when you're ready. You will. On the third day, everything changed. Margaret's condition took a sharp turn. She couldn't stay awake more than an hour. Her breathing became more labored. The nurse came, examined her, spoke quietly with Sarah. When the nurse left, Sarah found Ellie and Daniel. It's progressing faster than expected, she said gently. The doctor thinks days, maybe a week, but probably days. Daniel's coffee mug clattered. Days. I'm sorry, sometimes at the end it accelerates. Ellie felt numb. She'd known. But knowing and facing reality were different. Does she know, Ellie asked. She knows. She's been asking to see all of you. She has things she wants to say. They gathered in Margaret's room, Ellie, Daniel, Sarah. Margaret was propped up in bed, tablet positioned. Her eyes were tired but clear. I don't have much time left, so I need to say this now while I still can. Mom, you don't, Daniel started. Yes, I do. I've spent 33 years not saying what needed to be said. I won't waste my last days doing the same. She looked at each of them. Daniel, my strong boy, you've carried so much for so long, too much. I'm sorry I let you. I'm sorry you had to be the adult when you were still a child. Daniel's face crumpled. You did your best, Mom. My best wasn't good enough, but yours has been extraordinary. You stayed, you cared, you chose love over resentment. That takes strength I never had. Sarah, you're not my daughter by blood, but you are by choice. You've given more to this family than we had any right to ask. Thank you. For loving Daniel. For loving me. Sarah was crying. It's been an honor, Margaret. And Ellie, my brave girl, you left because you had to, because staying was killing you. I'm glad you did. Glad you built a life. But I'm also glad you came back, that you faced everything, that you found Isaac. I love you, Mom, Ellie whispered. I love you too, More than I knew how to show. Margaret's typing slowed. I have one last request. 3 things I need you to do after I'm gone. Anything, Ellie said. First, sell this house. Take the money. All 3 of you. Leave Coalridge. There's nothing here but ghosts. Build lives somewhere else. Somewhere you can be people instead of Brennans. Daniel nodded. We will. Second, give the manuscript to Isaac. Let him do what he thinks is right. Clear his father's name. Whatever consequences come, let them. Thomas will be angry. The town will turn. But you'll be gone. And the truth matters more. We'll give it to him, Ellie said. Third, live, both of you. Live fully, bravely, honestly. Fall in love. Make mistakes. Build something beautiful. Don't waste your lives the way I wasted mine. You didn't waste your life, Mom, Daniel said fiercely. You raised us. You loved us. You told the truth before you died. That's not waste. Perhaps not, but I could have been braver sooner. A small smile. Don't wait as long as I did. Life is short, and Isaac is good. Hold on to that. I will. Promise me, all 3 of you. Promise you'll live. We promise, they said in unison. Good. Now let me sleep. I'm very tired. Sarah adjusted machines, then ushered them out. In the kitchen, they stood in stunned silence. She's saying goodbye, Daniel said. Yeah. Should we call Dad? Ellie thought about Thomas. I don't know. What would Mom want? I think she already said everything she needed to say to him. Daniel pulled out his phone. I'll call anyway. Tell him she's declining. If he wants to come, he can. Daniel stepped outside. Ellie could see him pacing, phone-to-ear posture tense. Sarah touched Ellie's arm. You okay? No, but I will be. You want me to call Isaac? Did she? She wanted him, wanted his comfort, but this felt too intimate. Not yet. I'll text him later. Okay. Sarah made tea neither would drink. For what it's worth, your mom is at peace. I can see it. She's ready. I'm not ready. No one ever is. Daniel came back. He's coming. Said he'll be here in 20 minutes, but no fighting, no drama. Just goodbye. And he agreed. He didn't have much choice. They waited. Sarah made sandwiches no one ate. Ellie paced. Exactly 20 minutes later, Thomas's truck pulled in. Thomas stood on the porch looking smaller than Ellie remembered. He'd lost weight, his shirt hung loose, his face gray and sagging. He looked like a man who'd aged a decade in a week. Daniel opened the door. She's sleeping. You can see her, but if she asks you to leave, you leave. Understood? Thomas nodded. I understand. They led him to Margaret's bedside. She was sleeping, breathing assisted by the BiPAP machine, her face peaceful. Thomas stood at the foot of the bed, just looking. How long? He asked quietly. Days, Sarah said. Maybe less. He nodded, pulled up a chair. Can I have some time alone with her? Ellie wanted to refuse, but this was Margaret's choice. I'll wake her and ask, Sarah said. She touched Margaret's shoulder. Margaret, Thomas is here. He'd like to talk. Is that okay? Margaret's eyes opened. When she saw Thomas, something flickered across her face, not anger, not love, but resignation. Curiosity. She typed 10 minutes. Then he goes. You heard her, Daniel said. 10 minutes. They left, closing the door most of the way. Ellie positioned herself where she could see through the crack. Thomas sat in silence, then spoke quietly. I know you never loved me. I think I always knew, but I loved you. In my way. Maybe it wasn't the way you needed, but it was real. Margaret didn't type, just watched. I know I made mistakes. The mind, Michael, all of it. I was trying to protect us, but I built it on lies and fear, and now it's falling apart. He leaned forward. I'm sorry for forcing you into marriage, for not being the man you needed, for wasting 33 years of your life. Margaret's fingers moved. You didn't waste my life. I gave you children. I gave you companionship. But I never gave you my heart. That belonged to someone else. Robert Ashford. Yes, I knew. After the mine collapsed, when you voted with me, I saw it in your face. How it broke you to betray him. I knew then. Thomas's voice cracked. And I kept you anyway. That makes me a coward, doesn't it? Yes, the simple honesty hurt him more than elaboration could have. He flinched. But you're not only a coward. You were a good provider. You loved our children in your way. Margaret paused. It just wasn't the life I would have chosen. If you could do it over, would you have left with him in '85? Yes, without hesitation. Thomas absorbed this. Then I've spent 33 years holding on to something that was never mine. I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to be honest sooner. Are you afraid of dying? No, I'm ready. I've said what I needed to say, made my confessions, seen my children happy. That's enough. What happens to them after they leave? Build lives somewhere else. And me, that's up to you. But Thomas, you need to let them go. Don't fight the truth coming out. You've done enough damage. Let this be the one good thing you do at the end. Thomas was silent. Then I don't know how to do that. Learn or don't. But either way they're leaving. I'm dying. The truth will come out. You can face it with dignity or fight it. But fighting won't change the outcome. I've spent my whole life fighting. I know. That's why you're so tired. Something broke in him. His shoulders shook. Silent tears tracked down his face. He reached out for Margaret's hand, uncertain if he had the right. Margaret made the choice. Her trembling hand moved toward his. He took it gently. I'm sorry, Banso, he whispered, for all of it. I know, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I'm too tired to carry anger into death. They sat like that for the remaining minutes, connected by their hands separated by everything else. When Sarah knocked softly, Thomas stood. Goodbye, Margaret. Goodbye, Thomas. I hope you find peace. Real peace, not the kind built on lies. He nodded, released her hand, walked to the door. When he emerged, his face was ravaged, but somehow lighter. He looked at Ellie and Daniel. She's right, about all of it, about me. I won't fight the truth. When it comes out, I'll accept it. It's the least I can do. Dad, Daniel started. No, let me finish. I've been a terrible father, controlling, manipulative, more concerned with image than your well-being. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. Why now? Ellie asked. Because your mother just spent her last energy forgiving me. The least I can do is be honest. He shoved his hands in his pockets. I'm going back to the VFW. When it happens, call me. I'll come. But I won't insert myself. This is your time with Arn. He left. They heard his truck start drive away. Did that just happen? Daniel asked. I think so, Ellie said. Sarah came out. She wants to see you both. She's very tired, but she says it's important. They went in. Margaret's eyes were barely open, breathing labored. One more thing. About the house. It's paid off. Sell it should get at least $200, $1,000. Plus life insurance, $300, $1,000. Split it 3 ways, you, Daniel, and Sarah. Mom, Sarah doesn't need, she's family. She gets a third. Margaret's expression was fierce. Use it to start over. Promise. We promise, Daniel said. Love you, both, so much. We love you too, Mom, Ellie whispered. Margaret's hand moved toward the tablet. Tell Isaac thank you for letting me know Robert was happy, for being kind to my girl. The typing stopped. Her hand fell, but she was still breathing, just sleeping. They sat with her through the night, taking turns. Around 3 a.m., Ellie texted Isaac. Can't sleep. Thinking about you. How is she? He replied immediately. Declining. Maybe days, maybe hours. Do you want me to come? She thought about it. Not yet. Tomorrow maybe. I'll call you. Okay, I'm here if you need me. She dozed off, holding her mother's hand. Woke to Sarah shaking her gently. Light through the windows, dawn gray and soft. Ellie, her breathing's changed. I think it's time. Daniel was already awake, standing on the other side. They each took one of Margaret's hands. Her eyes opened one last time. Looked at each of them. Her mouth moved, trying to form words. But her eyes said everything. I love you. I'm proud of you. Live well. Then her gaze shifted past them to something they couldn't see. Her expression softened, became almost joyful. Her lips formed a word, Robert, and then she was gone. The BiPAP machine continued its rhythmic breathing. Sarah reached over and turned it off. The sudden silence was profound. Margaret Brennan was dead. Ellie didn't cry immediately. She just held her mother's cooling hand and felt the enormity of absence. Daniel made a sound, something between a paw and a gasp. Sarah moved to him, held him. Ellie watched, feeling distant, detached. Eventually, Sarah called the hospice nurse, the funeral home, the practical people who dealt with death's logistics. I should call Dad, Daniel said, voice thick. Yeah, he stepped outside. Ellie could hear him delivering the news, then silence. She looked at her mother's face, peaceful now, the strain finally released. Margaret looked younger somehow. She was waiting for permission, Sarah said quietly. Last night when she said goodbye, that was her releasing herself. The hospice nurse arrived, confirmed the death. Then the funeral home, two men who transferred Margaret's body onto a gurney with professional efficiency. They covered her with a white sheet. Thomas arrived as they were loading the van. He stood in the driveway watching. When they drove away, he climbed the porch steps. I'm sorry, he said simply. Thank you, Daniel replied. Awkward silence. I should go, let you grieve. But when you're ready to sell, I won't contest it. And when the truth comes out, he paused. I'll face it, like she asked. He left. And then it was just them, Ellie, Daniel, and Sarah, in a house suddenly enormous and empty. What do we do now? Daniel asked. We call Isaac, Ellie said, and figure out the rest. Sash arrived within an hour. Ellie fell into his arms and sobbed, while he held her, stroking her hair, murmuring words she couldn't hear but felt. When she'd exhausted herself, he led her to the couch. Tell me what you need, he said. I don't know, everything feels surreal. That's normal. They sat in silence. His presence was enough. She said something at the end, Ellie said eventually. She looked at something we couldn't see and said, Robert, like she saw him. Isaac's breath caught. She did. Yeah, and she looked happy, like she'd been waiting for him. My father, the night before he died, was delirious, talking to people who weren't there. At one point, he said Margaret with such longing. He looked at Ellie. Maybe they found each other. Maybe that's where they both went. You believe that? I want to. I want to think love doesn't just end. Me too. That evening when the house emptied, Daniel said, we should talk about what happens next. And they gathered in the living room. Mom wanted us to leave Coalridge, Ellie said, to sell the house and start over. I know, and she's right. Daniel looked at Isaac. What are your plans? I've been thinking, instead of a physical memorial here, I want to create something bigger. A foundation, using your mother's manuscript and my father's papers to tell the real story. Not just to clear his name, but to help other communities dealing with corporate negligence. That's beautiful, Sarah said. It would take time, but I could do it from anywhere. He looked at Ellie, which means I don't have to stay here either. Where would you go? Somewhere with mountain veterans. Somewhere I can do environmental work. Somewhere, he smiled, somewhere you might also want to be. Ellie's heart stuttered. You'd leave for me. Not just for you, for me too. Because you're right, this place is too poisoned. But also, yes, for you. Because meeting you has been the best thing to happen to me in years. I don't know where I'm going yet. Then we'll figure it out together. Daniel cleared his throat. Sarah, what about you? Sarah took his hand. Where you go, I go. Then it's settled, Ellie said. We leave Coalridge behind. Margaret's memorial was 3 days later. The church was half full. Thomas sat in back alone. Isaac sat with Ellie and Daniel, his presence a statement no one missed. The whispers started immediately, but no one said anything directly. Daniel gave the eulogy, talked about Margaret's quiet strength, her capacity for love, her protection of her children. He didn't mention Thomas or the suffering, just focused on who she'd been at her best. Ellie read Mary Oliver's Wild Geese about belonging to the family, of things about being called home despite mistakes. After at the reception, people approached with condolences, some genuine, some performative. A few mentioned Isaac with barely concealed hostility. I see you brought an Ashford, Mrs. Patterson said to Ellie. Isaac knew my mother. She asked to meet him before she died. I see. The librarian's eyes narrowed. And your father is okay with this? My father doesn't have a say in who I spend time with. Isaac appeared at Ellie's elbow. Mrs. Patterson, how are you? She flustered and hurried away. You're making people nervous, Ellie said. Good. When the truth comes out, they'll understand. When are you releasing it? After you've left, maybe a month. I'll set up the foundation website, post the manuscript along with my father's papers. Send links to newspapers, state officials. Then let the chips fall. Thomas will be destroyed. Yes, and 7 families will finally know the truth about who was responsible. He looked at her. Your mother knew this would hurt your father. She chose truth anyway. Are you having second thoughts? No, he made his choices. Over 3 weeks, they dismantled 33 years, sorted clothes books, photographs, kept some things, Margaret's jewelry photo albums, Michael's journals. The rest they donated or threw away. A realtor assessed the house. Market's tough, but I think $220,000, maybe more. Whatever you can get, Daniel said. We want it sold quickly. The house went on market. Within a week, an offer $215,000 cash closing in 30 days. They accepted. Thomas didn't contest. He'd moved into a small apartment, was working part-time at the hardware store. When Ellie saw him at the grocery store, he nodded but didn't approach. Sarah gave notice at the clinic. Isaac worked on the foundation filing paperwork, designing the website, preparing to release the manuscript. They made plans, Colorado maybe, or Montana, somewhere with mountains and room to breathe. Isaac could consult. Ellie could do her photography documentary. Daniel wanted to go back to school for environmental science. Sarah would find nursing work. The night before they left, they gathered at the house one last time. Furniture gone, suitcases packed. All that remained was to lock the door and walk away. They stood in the empty living room. Do you want to say anything? Daniel asked. Some kind of goodbye? Ellie thought about her mother dying here, about Michael leaving and never returning, about Thomas's control and Margaret's endurance, about lies that poisoned everything. No, she said. Let's just go. They locked the door, left keys in the lockbox, got into their vehicles, Ellie with Isaac, Daniel, and Sarah together. As they drove out of Coalridge, Ellie looked back once. The town was quiet in early morning light, peaceful even. But she knew better. She turned forward toward the road ahead. Isaac reached over and took her hand. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. Any regrets? She thought about her mother finally at peace, about Daniel and Sarah building something real, about Isaac beside her, about the truth finally being told. No, she said. No regrets. They drove into the morning, leaving Coalridge and all its ghosts behind. 6 months later, the coffee shop in Asheville, North Carolina had big windows, exposed brick, the smell of espresso and possibility. Ellie sat at a corner table, laptop open, editing photos from her latest project. The series was called The Space Between, Images of Coalridge in its final days. The overlook where Robert used to sit, the library, Margaret's garden, Michael's memorial, and people, the librarian, the shopkeepers, those who'd stayed because leaving was harder. Their faces told stories about choice and consequence, about towns that couldn't quite die but couldn't fully live. A gallery in Atlanta wanted to show it. A photography magazine wanted to feature. The work was resonating. The door chimed. Isaac walked in carrying grocery bags, hair windblown. He'd been buying ingredients for dinner. They were hosting Daniel and Sarah that night, celebrating Sarah's acceptance to the nursing program at UNC. How's the editing? He asked. Good, almost done. He leaned over her shoulder, looking at the screen, the cairn stones stacked carefully. That's my favorite, he said. Mine too. He kissed her head. The Ashford Foundation website launched an hour ago. Ellie's fingers froze. And already over 1,000 views. The West Virginia Gazette picked it up, running a story tomorrow. He sat beside her. It's out there now, the full truth. How do you feel? Terrified, relieved, vindicated, grateful. He took her hand. Because none of this would have happened without your mother's courage. Her phone buzzed. Daniel, did you see the website is blowing up? Dad called. He's furious but not denying anything. Just like he promised. Another text from a Coalridge number. This is Doris from the hardware store. I read the manuscript. I'm sorry for what you went through. Your mother was brave. Thank you. Then another. This is Bill Patterson. Mrs. Patterson asked me to text. She says she's sorry for judging you. She's reading the manuscript now and crying. She owes you an apology. More texts came. People reading, processing, some apologizing, some angry, most shocked. It's working, Ellie said. People are learning. Yeah, and some are even believing it. Isaac stood. But that's their journey now. We did our part. We told the truth. He went to cook. Ellie watched him in their small apartment, this space they'd built together. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Ellie. This is Patricia Chen, Sarah's mother. I wanted to call and say I'm proud of you. Of all of you. What you did telling the truth, building new lives that took courage. Your mother would be proud too. Ellie's eyes filled. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. And Ellie tell Isaac his father would be proud. The foundation is exactly what Robert would have wanted. Truth and healing. You're doing good work. They talked briefly, then said goodbye. Daniel and Sarah arrived at 6 bearing wine and laughter. They'd found an apartment nearby. Daniel was enrolled in environmental science inspired by Isaac. Sarah was thriving, already talking about specializing in palliative care. They ate dinner together, this chosen family, and talked about everything except Coalridge. About Daniel's classes, Sarah's clinicals, Isaac's consulting, Ellie's exhibition. To Margaret, Daniel said, raising his glass, who gave us permission to leave, to build something better, to live. To Margaret, they echoed, and to Robert, Ellie thought, who loved her mother through impossible circumstances, who taught his son to turn pain into purpose. After dinner, they went to the roof, a common space with chairs and string lights and mountain views. They sat watching the sunset. Do you miss it? Sarah asked. Coalridge, no, Ellie said, then reconsidered. Not the town, but I miss who we were before we knew the truth, when things were simpler. I don't, Daniel said. I'm glad we left, glad we know, glad we're here. Me too, Sarah agreed. Isaac was quiet, staring at mountains. Finally, I miss my father, but I'm glad I know who he really was now. Your mother gave me that gift, Ellie, the truth about someone I loved. Ellie took his hand. She gave us all gifts by being brave enough to tell the truth. And by loving someone despite impossible odds, Isaac added. By never letting go. That kind of love, that's what we should aspire to. He looked at Ellie. Something passed between them. I love you, Isaac said quietly. I know it's only been 6 months. I know we're still figuring things out. But I need you to know I love you. Ellie's heart expanded. I love you too. Daniel stood. That's our cue. Come on, Sarah. He and Sarah disappeared laughing. Ellie and Isaac stayed on the roof as darkness fell and stars appeared. Do you think they found each other? Ellie asked. Your dad and my mom. After? I don't know, but I like to think so. I like to think that somewhere they're together. Finally free from everything that kept them apart. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked. Below, Asheville glowed with life and possibility. Behind them, Coalridge faded into memory and truth. Ahead, a future they were building together, stone by stone, choice by choice, moment by moment. And somewhere in memory, in spirit, in the stories they told, Margaret and Robert were finally together. No longer separated by fear or duty or impossible choices. Just love, pure and simple and eternal, the way it should have been all along.